You're watching RTV News with me, Jane Mutoni. The Minister of Local Government, Gatabazi Jean-Marie Vianney, has reminded local leaders that their responsibility lies in the well-being of citizens, thus their performance has to be measured by the change in their lives. The Rwanda Space Agency says in the near future it will launch a technology that uses satellite information to develop the agriculture sector. A very welcome to the news in details now. The Minister of Local Government, Gatabazi Jean-Marie Vianney, has reminded local leaders that their responsibility lies in the well-being of citizens, thus their performance has to be measured by the change in their lives. He made the remarks on Tuesday during a joint consultative meeting of the Southern Province. Sam Kalisa has this report.
The meeting highlighted a larger picture of the Southern Province in this fiscal year that is towards its completion and the contents and projections of the 2022-2023 fiscal year in all aspects of public welfare. Providing better services to all citizens was one of the main topics covered by the Minister of Local Government, Gatabazi Jean-Marie Vianney, highlighting that this, in the end, helps to prevent losses and hindering the development of residents.
Services
related to seeking documents are most of the times delayed. Sometimes you find that something that could have taken a day takes months to be completed, and that delays all other development projects like construction that cause a lot of losses in the end. At the meeting, leaders who have made a step in fighting corruption noted that some of their colleagues that still accept bribes need to boost their awareness in this regard.
I'm a volunteer, but I cannot accept bribes. Now imagine someone who gets paid and still accepts bribes. If I get to see them, I can report them because corruption delays the country's development. You cannot serve the country while you're still accepting bribes, because then you're looking at your own interests than interests of citizens.
Kabadisa Arsene, the Executive Secretary of Garama sector in Huye district, finds that the issue of poor performance is an individual problem since the country's line of governance is perfectly clear. The first cause is the lack of discipline, which makes someone provide poor services, because a disciplined person cannot rob the country or citizens. So it is an individual issue based on the person's poor understanding, not the country's system itself. Minister Gatabazi emphasized that each district in the Southern Province has unique opportunities, but all should contribute to the development of the province at large. This should be done through having a clear planning in order to increase cooperation between different stakeholders. This province has districts with unique opportunities, some bordering the forest, others fit for potato, tea or wheat farming, and that can be exchanged with the produce from other provinces like cassava or minerals or even construction activities. So the uniqueness of each province should be its path to acquiring what they don't have. Local leaders have been urged to address the concerns of other people and prevent them from escalating to higher authorities. In the Southern Province, the administration has been asked to expedite the process of reviewing and analyzing the problems facing the residents of each district and identifying the urgencies that should be addressed in the unique manner.
So Simira Public Limited Company released its interim financial results for the half-year 6 months period ended 31st March of 2022. Now the company posted record revenue of 44 billion Rwandan francs, indicating a 45% increase compared to the same period last year. Now with 5.2 billion Rwandan francs net profit, Simira closed the period on strong footing. Now, this represents a plus 414% increase versus 1.0 billion Rwandan francs achieved during the same period last year. Now, with me, I have Albert Sigay. Welcome to the studios.
Thank you, Mutoni.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Good. So Rwanda's economy, just like every other country, was affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, as Simirwa, how have you managed to the growth and recovery, and what are the future projects as this was achieved in the first 6 months of this year?
Yeah, thank you very much. It has indeed been a very, very interesting journey, you know, with the, as you say, COVID starting in 2020 and all the way through up to now. I would say we have learned to be resilient, to stay strong.
Indeed.
And to respond very firmly, you know, to turbulences like COVID, and I think we have the latest, the Russia-Ukraine crisis. So because of that, we've been able to really wade through this. And the other thing that I can talk about is the support that we've had from the government and also from the stakeholders. I think being in a jurisdiction like Rwanda, we've been able to, you know, come through that journey in a very solid manner because there's been some good projects along the way, starting with the, you know, the big Ministry of Education classrooms. I think right now there's quite a few projects in the pipeline, like the Bugesera Airport, also the, you know, the Amahoro Stadium, and many others in the pipeline. And I think during the Chogam festivities, I think we've all seen the various things that are in the pipeline, and this puts the construction sector in a good state.
Yes, you actually mentioned about the Ukraine and Russia war taking place. Now, how did you manage to maintain a healthy cash balance with the current status of the economy given the war between the Ukraine and Russia?
Yeah, so the results we are talking about for the period ending March, it's
Yes.
6 months. Meaning only partly impacted by the Ukraine crisis. However, it's still a very important point because as we speak right now, we are dealing with it because the Ukraine crisis has meant that costs have escalated. You know, we've had suppliers and various providers of different input items, not ours, saying, you know, we'd like to increase the prices on us.
Yes.
So we've had to respond to this in various ways. First and foremost through various cost savings initiatives, and this begins with enhancing the efficiencies in our production facilities and also through the whole value chain, all the way from the quarry through to the customer. We've also had to innovate by doing things a bit differently in a manner that is cost effective, but without compromising on the service or the quality. And also, just like many others in the society, we have been forced to pass on a little bit of the burden
Yes.
to the customer.
Wow.
Through a price increase.
Clearly, it's a big achievement. So what brought about this tremendous increase in the record revenue or net profits?
I would put it to a number of factors. There is, first and foremost, we've got a great team. And by a great team, I'm talking about all the way from the board, a solid, you know, bench strength in terms of the board, a very experienced with the multi-skilled, and then we've got a strong, very good, you know, the management team. I give it to them together with the workforce. Also, the strong set of stakeholders that are around us. So that is one, and also a solid strategy with a very, very good follow-through in terms of execution of the same. And we've stayed focused on that, and that has seen us, you know, ramp up our performance to the point where Mutoni, during the 12 months ending March, we were able to hit a milestone, a very big milestone. We crossed the 500,000 kilotons mark.
Wow.
For the first time. In fact, we did produce and sell about 530,000 tons of cement equivalent. And this is close to 86% of our capacity utilization.
Wow.
And we are still focused on, you know, going way beyond that.
I'm curious to know how you managed to recover from this pandemic, because some businesses have struggled a lot and significantly. How have you made it?
Yeah, thank you. So we've other than the elements that I've just told you about, I think where the story begins is the jurisdiction in which we operate. If you look at the macros of Rwanda, I think we've been very lucky because in terms of coming out of that trough, the trough of COVID,
Yes.
I think we've sort of come out of it in a much faster manner than a lot of other economies. And this one goes to the interventions that were put in by the government in terms of various recovery funds, manufacture build to recover program, and so on and so forth. And we are truly grateful for that. So that was a very useful element. And as I mentioned, the projects that also came through. But we have also really solidified our approach to the market. For example, during this period, we were able to increase our penetration into the export markets.
The construction activities, you mean?
Construction activities and also the export markets. As you see in the results we just announced,
Yes.
Exports increased by about 62% compared to the previous period last year. And this is good for the country because we are bringing in foreign exchange. So it's a number of factors, diversifying our route to market and really being focused on our strategy and being dogged around it, and the fact that the sector of construction was well supported by the government in Rwanda.
That was quite insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Albert Sege, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yes. So moving on, the Rwanda Space Agency says in the near future it will launch a technology that uses satellite information to develop the agricultural sector, as more than 70% of Rwandans are in this sector, hence increasing productivity, which accounts for 23% of the country's gross domestic product. Take a look.
Rwanda is one of the 10 African countries that has a satellite and one of the first countries to start using aerospace information in agriculture. Rwanda Space Agency says it has begun to look at how satellite information can be used in various sectors, including agriculture, which accounts for 23% of the country's GDP. The Chief Technology Officer at the Rwanda Space Agency, Kwizera George, says that they are improving the technology of aerospace information that will be used in the field of agriculture in order to develop this sector that employs about 70% of Rwanda's population. For example, I have 100 hectares of maize plantation. There is a certain amount of produce to be expected from it, which is the first thing we want to address. Secondly, the image caught by the satellite will show how a given crop should grow. And then it will also show how your current crops are growing. A farmer will compare, for example, if a crop is supposed to change color in 2 months and hasn't done so, then this will indicate that there is something wrong with the current crops. And in that case, one can be able to notice and make some changes in terms of measuring the amount of fertilizers to be put in some parts of the plantation. And that is the other issue we want to address using the information provided by satellites. Senjumva Francois, a professional farmer, says that they need this information to help them know the level of fertilizer they need to use and the level of soil fertility so that they don't invest more than what is needed, hence leading to high prices on the market. This information will help us to know where we need to put more effort in terms of what to invest in the soil. Lately, we've been making mistakes in terms of investing things that aren't necessarily needed for the crops to grow, hence affecting the produce we supply the local and international market when it comes to pricing due to the amount of investment in our crops. So this information will help us to know what is needed, hence reducing the investment costs. Emable Chimenyi, the second vice chairperson of the Private Sector Federation PSF, says that as the private sector, they will work with the Rwanda Space Agency to produce domestic products that can also be traded on the international market. Personally, the one exciting thing we need to work on very soon is to make local technological product as Made in Rwanda, because Made in Rwanda is a brand known in countries we export to, such as Ghana. Our products have a good reputation. So I think we should work together and use this technology to discover more technology and for farmers to change their mindset in using local methods of checking the weather and actually seek the right information. Students should also get involved in this project because if it is used well, it can make a product that can be worth of millions of dollars, which is why we are supporting it as PSF. Dr. Octave Semwaga, the Director General of the Agriculture Modernization in the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, noted that some of the information has already been received through satellites on which it was best to take action on floods, droughts and more.
Ayo makarita rero agenda atangwa n'ibyogajuru akabafasha kugira ngo bikurikiranwe uko ibyo bihingo bimeze.
The information being collected from spacecrafts is helping to know the status of the crops, animals, so that the owners and partners can know which changes to be made and get informed on time. This also helps us as the ministry and policy makers to make the agenda based on the information. Apart from the issue of drought pointed out, there is also the issue of floods, as we updated the status of floods monthly. We also inform the owners of the crops on what's going wrong, and lately you've heard that we are supplying food because we get information on time. In addition to the agriculture sector, the Rwanda Space Agency is working on a variety of technologies, including showing the distance between infrastructures in a way that shows the distance to be traveled by citizens to seek different services and settlement expansion.
On Tuesday, the African Leadership University launched a student learning hub, which aims at enhancing students' learning by facilitating them to have a place-based learning internships and help them collaborate with key community stakeholders. Olive Nete has this report.
In this new model of learning, students are placed close to the challenges and opportunities in communities across Africa and the globe through collaboration with key business leaders and community stakeholders. And this program will assist students to have long-term relationships necessary to create a positive change. Jessica Kelly Hirgwa, one of the students of African Leadership University, said that the new program will assist them in connecting to the outside world as well as creating needed skills for the work environment.
The program is going to help me as a student in making networks and help and getting people who have already done what I want to do, and they're going to help me in getting inspiration, networks, and helping me in achieving the mission I want to achieve.
The program will be accessible to the students of the African Leadership University. Fred Swanika, the founder of this university, explores more on the importance of the new program.
And so the idea behind this hub is to have a space where people can gather in smaller groups and when they have internet access and electricity, because the problem with online learning alone is that it's lonely. You don't have other people you can learn from, to collaborate with, and you also don't have access to infrastructure like internet and electricity to be able to effectively learn. And the other reason for setting up the hubs is to be closer to the communities and closer to employers who want to engage that talent. So a space like this, employers can come, and this is much closer to the CBD, to where employers are. They can come, they can do interviews, they can meet our students, they can take them for internships, they can come and teach and share their knowledge, right? And so this hub model is a way for us to make ALU a lot more accessible and to distribute this vision across the continent. So, what we have opened here, we also have several hubs popping up all across the continent of Africa. And so the mother campus in Rwanda, and we have another one in Mauritius, really become the center of a much wider network that allows us to develop more leaders for Africa.
In order to build the capacity in the youth, The Rwandan government has put in place various programs to build the future leaders, and this program will support the government's plans so that Rwanda and Africa as a whole can have a good and prosperous leadership that leads to the development of the African continent. Olive Nete, RTV News.
Thank you, Olive, for that report. Now, Umbrella Organization for the Survivors of the 1994 Genocide against the Tutsi, Ibuka, finds that providing help to survivors through funding is an important factor in supporting them, especially those in business. Now, the Forum of Civil Society Organizations emphasizes that their current activities must go in line with the national vision and community development. Sam Kaliza continues.
Is still in the 100 days of commemorating the 1984 genocide that was perpetrated against the Tutsi. Non-governmental organizations, both domestic and international, have organized a commemoration event at the Nyanza Chitruchiro Memorial Site, where representatives of these organizations gave testimonies of the Tutsi that were killed in the area after being abandoned by the UNAMIR forces. Discussions addressed to representatives of these non-governmental organizations focused on uploading their contribution to the country's development, especially regarding a commemoration and supporting the survivors. The CEO of the Rwanda Governance Board, Dr. Yusta Kaitesi, urged these organizations to harmonize their programs with the interests of their beneficiaries.
What is needed now is taking care of the basic issues faced by survivors, but also put in place activities meant to boost their sustainable development. That is what we encourage these organizations to do, especially that they have a large community of beneficiaries.
Representatives of non-governmental organizations emphasized that readiness to contribute to the development of the country in the aftermath of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, with a focus on refuting genocide deniers and those with genocidal ideologies, as well as working with the country to find solutions to pressing issues, especially helping vulnerable genocide survivors, will be their priority. We need NGOs that can help citizens grow out of poverty, knowing their rights. We need organizations that can help in analyzing and championing the country's vision. The umbrella of genocide survivors, Ibuka, was provided with a grant of 8 million Rwandan francs in funding to support various programs, including housing, the Girinka program, and more. The executive secretary of Ibuka, Aisha Chienaftal, says the support is crucial in supporting survivors, especially those in business. Some small traders were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Hence, they need help and support and getting the capital so that they can go back to their business activities. It is very important because people get what to do, hence helping them to develop. Because the moment they don't have what to do, they return to their old memories. Non-governmental organizations have been reminded that they should not act like other organizations that took part in spreading hatred, divisions and genocidal ideologies, including religious, human rights activists and journalists. Sam Kalisa, Rwanda Television News.
Moving on, women studying in the technological field say it has positively impacted them, and they've gained a lot from the experience as they urge their fellows to have the courage to pursue their dreams as well. Precious Chirezi has this report.
Lillian Mutesi, a PhD holder in the IT sector, says integrating technology into her studies has paved the way to achieving a lot in her day-to-day life. Personally, I have seen sustainable development in my children's education, and technological advancements have also been integrated into construction as well as other sectors. IT students hope the realization of their innovative dreams will contribute to Rwanda's development and the world at large. As a data analyst, I hope that I can continue to help Rwanda collect information and reach new technological advancements. Dr. Lillian Mutesi urges women to be intentional about integrating the use of technology into their day-to-day because they too are capable of achieving what their male counterparts can.
Abana b'abakobwa reka mwumve ko mushoboye kuri buri rwego.
Ladies, we can do it all. When a woman decides to do something and puts in the work, she's capable of doing it better than the man.
Natwe tubasha kubikora ndetse tukabikora neza.
The Ministry of Education says that between 2018 and 2021, the IT students enrolled in A-level and university were approximately 3,117 and 1,280 of them were women. Precious Chidezi, RTV News.
Well, that story sums up tonight's bulletin. Now, on behalf of the entire news production team, thank you so much for your company. I'm Jane Mutoni. Bye for now.